It starts with one step, and it leads to a whole new world. Meet the Houston instructors who helped turn first timers into lifelong dancers and built a vibrant community here in Houston. This is a short clip from our latest film, Houston Salsa. With the rising interest in salsa music, one essential element completes this experience: dance. Salsa instructors have been instrumental in driving the growth of the salsa scene in Houston.
In the beginning, there were 7 of us. There was Jorge Mercado. You'll hear his name in a lot of the interviews. Through him, other people like Culture Beat came out of that line. He created the Houston Salsa Congress. He created the first nonprofit dancing company in salsa called the Houston Salsa Dancing. Number 2, I would say Raul, strictly salsa. He's been doing it for a while. He has created his own lane and he's taught many people. Salomon Amaya Dance, a young gentleman. I've seen him grow since he was 18. As well, I would have to say SSQQ has introduced a lot of people to salsa. Then you have Edgar Guaguanco. He retired. He created the first dance company, salsa dance company, to represent Houston on a bigger stage. He retired. But out of him came out Oscar, who owns the Palladium. And he's now one of the big promoters now. He does what is called the B.I.G Salsa Congress. Then you have a gentleman named Wilmer, great performer, all natural. He's retired as well, but because of him, people like Omni Dance Studio and Jonathan came out of that lineage, and Jonathan has incorporated or implemented or contributed to the salsa scene, not just here in Houston, but also in Dallas. Through me, well, as you already know, I've been doing this for 25 years. Through my lineage, you have on the north side, Raye and Irene.
I think the thing that really brings people into into salsa is the fact that it really centralizes a lot with social dancing. So if you're in the other dance communities, there's tons of competitions. If you go like to a country event, they're competing all day long. I think the salsa community is more about the social aspect of it and performing. So and as far as becoming a performer, we have teams that we sponsor from our studio that we take baby dancers that are just learning how to dance, and we can put them on stage and we can get them up to speed as far as dancing and being able to perform.
I started teaching salsa, I think it was in 1997. So I went dancing a couple times and people kept asking me, hey, are you an instructor? I was like, no, I just dance for fun. And after the 4th or 5th time, I thought, well, maybe I should start teaching. Primarily because I started working in a ballroom and they had hired me to teach Latin dancing. So I was beginning to get trained, but I was having, I would say, some internal conflicts. Because for us in Latin America, the music tells you how to dance, the music tells you what to do.
There was always something about the way that they moved that just didn't feel natural to me. It's kind of like what you see on Dancing with the Stars, kind of a lot of this and that, and it wasn't me. I never felt comfortable doing it.
There was this clash in my mind. I said, well, I can't teach this as Latin because I know deep down in my heart, in my mind, that this is not how Latin people dance. This is not how I dance. So in that process, I sort of got angry and mad, and I said, well, don't get mad, do something. And I began to teach, and I think that was 1997. And then months later, I realized that that's really what was my calling at that time. So in that process, we started looking for a name, and I sent out a few emails and messages to people, say, hey, what do you think of this name? And that's when the name Strictly Street Salsa came to be, because we wanted people to know exactly what they were coming to learn, that it was salsa as we dance on the streets in Latin America. Once they understand that, it makes a whole difference in the way they can dance, or they can connect to the music. And that's the most important thing. It is not necessarily just how many fancy steps you know. Are you connected to the music in many ways, rhythmically, but also emotionally? And I think by me having a music degree has allowed me to bring other musicians into the program that totally then end up enriching the student body that we have.
Actually, that's the way that I got introduced to Strictly Street Salsa. Because I met somebody there that I liked to dance with, and then he told me that he was an instructor, and I got intimidated. Now I know that doesn't mean. I mean, yes, you're an instructor, but when you go out to dance, you're not teaching. He never stopped to tell me you didn't do this right, you didn't do that right, or you did it great, or anything like that. We just danced. Then he introduced me to some of the people in Strictly Street that would go out and dance together, and I danced with them, became friends with them. Then I met Raul. Dancing with them was like what I had felt like I was looking for. It was all very natural. Movements were all very natural. Nothing looked forced. Nothing looked like you had to try too hard. If you wanted to move your arm, you moved your arm because the music told you to move your arm. Not because some instructor told you shoot your arm up or shoot your arm out or things like that.
I did find that as the community began to build, I was the first salsa studio to be established in Houston. So after that, I was happy to see that others began to say, hey, that can actually be done as a form of living. But I realized that the groups began to form, and I will support this group. They had events, I will take students, I will do this, I will promote. But I realized that when it came to my events, or when it came to my program, that support was not reciprocated. And after a couple of months, maybe a couple of years, I realized that the groups have formed, but they all look the same. I was the only one that technically didn't look like the rest. That was an obstacle at first, and of course it did hurt me, but I realized, and I used that energy and those circumstances to then push me to do more. And looking back, I'm glad it happened, just for the fact that I was able to do a lot of things like Salsa y Salud and, Festival de la Salsa, Latin Fest, a whole bunch of other events and projects that if I had stayed linked to the group, most likely I would have not done or pushed myself to do.
Always we have to work in double. I'm working double for I'm woman. I'm working double for I'm Latina. I'm working double for I'm black. I'm working double for everything. So is baby step because somebody don't believe too much, but if you're consistent and if you're stable and you keeping consistent, discipline, and the people see you every time. See you. No, Karla is here. No, Karla is here. And you see the results, the people have more confidence in you. And the people say, okay, I can train you with her because always she stay here and I see the results. So, this is my life.
All that we do, mostly in Latin music, finds its roots in African movement. So my question used to be, well, how are you all doing all of this salsa dancing and you have never done like a basic isolation of the shoulders or the rib cage or, hip, all of that? And people say, oh, we never do that. We just learn the steps. And that was one of the things that made our program to be different. To have been criticized and to some extent ridiculed at first for doing that, but we just kept doing it regardless. To now see, 25 years later, that all these instructors are like gravitating to the Afro movement. At some point it could be laughable, but at the other side it makes me happy to see that they finally came to the realization that that is the base. It is not how many tricks and acrobatics you can do. It's the movement. The body is our way of expressing. It's our medium of expressing. And if you just dance like a robot doing turns, but you have no movement, no feeling, what's the point?
I tell him now, I said, Raul, you gave me permission to just let it all out. And I jokingly say, if my father saw me dancing now, I'd be put in punishment forever. Because nice girls don't dance like that. And I want to tell them, yeah, they do. But the one thing that I would say to anybody who wants to learn to dance salsa, or any dance for that matter, you are seeing people who can dance salsa. They did not learn it in one class. They did not learn it in 4 classes. They took months of classes. Taking classes is one thing, but where you really learn to dance salsa is when you go out and start dancing.
In the process along my church journey, I actually met a guy who sold print and toner cartridges and gave half his profits away to missions. So regardless of where you stand on religion, this guy was clearly being generous and impactful and purposeful with the way he was using his money. And so we thought, me and some other church dancer friends, we thought, well, you know, what if we taught a lesson to help raise money and awareness for groups that we felt like could use the support? And so we had this generosity model where we would tell an organization, hey, rent out a studio, we'll teach the lesson, and so everybody wins, right? So it was the first foray to say, hey, you know what? I love dancing, and I know what kind of journey I took in order to get better at this, and maybe I helped make it a little easier for people to enjoy this dancing as well. And so I say, I love dancing. I hope people love dancing as much as I do.
Entonces, si tienen ese trabajo fuerte y va también acompañado del estrés de tener que, es que tengo que ir a una práctica, tengo que ir a bailar, tengo que esto, si no voy a bailar, if I don't want to dance, entonces no everybody talk with me. So lo que estamos creando es miedo, like the people scared, the people don't want to enjoy, porque entonces dicen que es too much tension. So quieren estar relajados. So esa transición, that transition to come to the Congress, to new change, to new language, that part, adaptarse, trying that is complicated. So es complicado. Sana, relajada, but you put in this force, I think so you can find that balance y todo puede crecer más. Todo puede grow more because everyone have the balance. Sometimes it's not the same. Sometimes you put in more here or put in more here. But if you keep it like this, yo pienso que eso es lo que va a hacer que pueda ir subiendo, porque siempre va a estar a esta posición. It's the process stuff.
You have to have a growth mindset in order to actually be good at this. It wasn't until I kind of flipped the switch and said, maybe I could actually be good at this, where I actually started to get better at it, right? And it's not to brag or anything like that. It's the funny thing is that the more dancers are willing to challenge themselves, the better they get, right? Because in the student group I help coach or teach, it's funny when students they get intimidated quickly by some of the moves that we try to teach. And so we deal with this struggle and fear of failure. But the sooner they realize, hey, you know what, if I put in the work, I can get better at this, and you believe in your ability to improve, that's where the magic starts to happen.
To watch the full documentary, visit totalmedulla.com.